In the world of anime, the relationship between a student and a mentor is that of respect and love. A mentor pours their wisdom into their pupil, molding them into a stronger, better person. But what happens when the bond they once shared becomes the spark for an epic showdown? Well, your answer's right here. Today we're taking a look at some of the best mentor versus student fights in anime. So, let's begin. Let's talk about the fiery world of Fairy Tail with Natsu versus Gildarts. These two share a bond that goes beyond the typical teacher-student relationship. See, Natsu saw Gildarts as a father figure when he was a child and continued looking up to him as Gildarts was the strongest mage in the world of Fairy Tail. When Gildarts returned from his 100-year quest, Natsu constantly tried to involve Gildarts in a fight with him. You know, that's how Natsu is. The two clashed during the S-Class Mage promotion trial, and our boy Natsu was practically bouncing with excitement at the chance to fight his mentor. He couldn't wait to show Gildart how far he'd come as a magic user, but hey, Gildarts is in a league of his own. He was easily able to bring down Natsu while showing off a little bit of his powers. Gildarts wanted to teach Natsu a lesson about humility. After all, even the fiercest Dragon Slayer needs to learn that not every problem can be solved by headbutting it into submission. Moving on, we're going inside the magical world of Seven Deadly Sins as Meliodas fights Gilthunder. When they finally face off, Gilthunder unleashes every ounce of his power against Meliodas, bombarding him with lightning strikes. Our terrifying knight is hitting Meliodas with bolts left and right, wreaking havoc here and there. And while Meliodas may be taking a serious beating, he's far from dumb. Their showdown is electrifying, like literally. But you see, Gilthunder is the prime example of an ultimate boss with insane power moves who becomes a lot less intimidating once you unlock him as a playable character. Suddenly, you realise he's not that tough when you're the one pressing the buttons. But seriously, it's heart-wrenching to watch Gilthunder fight against someone he once admired as a hero. Slashing their way into this list, Thorfinn and Askeladd from Vinland Saga share a very complex relationship, but the moment they fight is just amazing. Now, they're not exactly mentor and student in the traditional sense, but in a way, that's exactly what they are. After Askeladd killed Thorfinn's father, Thorfinn swore upon himself that at some point in life he would kill Askeladd. For that purpose, Thorfinn accompanied Askeladd on his voyage only to learn his ways of living. Along the way, Thorfinn's quest for revenge turned him into a battle-hardened warrior, but it also led him to commit horrific acts, including the deaths of countless innocent people. The guilt from these actions weighed heavily on him even as he grew older. During one of their duels, Thorfinn intended to kill Askeladd and settle his score with him once and for all. After looking at Askeladd's expressions, it was pretty clear that the dude had had enough of Thorfinn's stubbornness. During their fight, Askeladd expertly manipulates Thorfinn, turning his rage against him. The result? Thorfinn ends up getting knocked out in a heartbeat. Next up we have Rudeus and Eris from Mushoku Tensei. Rudeus was pretty clear about what he was getting himself into after he agreed to be Eris's teacher. Initially, Rudeus was struggling with dealing with Eris's temper and stubbornness, but then something miraculous happened. Slowly but surely, Eris started to calm down. Maybe it was Rudeus's persistence, or maybe she just ran out of things to throw at him. Either way, she began to actually listen and take in his teachings. During one of their training sessions, after Rudeus gained the Demon Eye of Foresight, we got a real treat. Eris, who's actually a powerhouse in her own right, struggled to take down her teacher. In the end, Eris is still a child in front of Rudeus, who's also a child, but not at all, if you know what I mean. It wouldn't be a mentor versus student list without this. We have one of the best fights from Gintama. Yeah, I'm talking about the emotional and intense fight between Gintoki and Utsuro. Both Gintoki and Utsuro's connections run deep, dating back to Gintoki's time under Utsuro's good alter ego. Dude was a kind guy until his dark side came out, which only knew suffering. That suffering birthed the evil Naraku organization, because apparently, if you're gonna go bad, you might as well go all out. When Gintoki found himself face to face with his former teacher's evil persona, the stakes were sky high. Utsuro, with his immortality and gloomy worldview, thought it was quick and easy to kill his former student, but our boy Gintoki Gintoki proved him wrong real quick. Now, let's talk about the fight itself. The animation, absolute fire. The background music, epic. Also, you can feel the emotional weight behind every strike, and true, Gintama fans would probably have cried during this fight. In the end, with a heavy heart, Gintoki took out his beloved mentor, a task that only he could carry out. Even though it's new, it's a banger as we take a look at Kafka vs Hoshina in Kaiju number 8. Kafka Hibino was an average guy. Well, he was until he got turned into a kaiju. Yeah, he went from a cleanup crew member dealing with kaiju corpses to becoming one himself. On the other hand, we have Shoshiro Hoshina, the vice captain of the Defense Force's 3rd Division and a certified kaiju slicing expert. A few things happen, the usual life-changing stuff, and Kafka ended up in the Defense Force as well, naturally making Hoshina his new teacher. Now, here's where things get interesting. During one of their encounters with a kaiju, Kafka had to tap into his kaiju form to help his friends out, but unfortunately, Hoshina's kaiju sensing skills kicked in and he started attacking Kafka without a second thought. Boy oh boy, Hoshina is faster than the eye can see. We get to see Hoshina's terrifying powers and Kafka had to run for his life in the end. Honestly, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Hoshina is the Levi Ackerman of Kaiju number 8. He's got the speed, the skills, and the scary aura that makes you think twice before messing with him. Let's talk about the Pookies of Chainsaw Man who got themselves in trouble with Kishibe, the strongest devil hunter, during their intense training session. The training session was far from ordinary. It was downright torturous. Bro left them paralyzed and he only hugged them tight. After the two tried attacking him, he left them in a pool of their own blood. It didn't matter that they shared their single brain cell. Even working together, they couldn't touch a single hair on Kishibe's head. The guy was operating on a whole other level of power and skill. I love how, after yet another failed attempt to beat Kishibe, Power would beat on Denji's broken head, telling him to wake up, as if it was all his fault. These poor kids had to die multiple times during their training, each time coming back to life, only to face Kishibe's relentless onslaught again. They were left to wonder just how many times they'd died and resurrected. This mentor versus student fight is hands down one of the most brutal ones. We're getting into the dark and twisted world of Tokyo Ghoul now, where we get to see one of the most intense fights between a mentor and student. The fight is between Kaneki and Arima, the genius CCG's Reaper. Now, Kaneki, after getting a personality makeover into Sasaki Heisei, was trained by none other than Arima. Both Sasaki and Arima had fought multiple times before while training, but their final face-off was nothing like their fights before that. Even though Kaneki didn't want to fight his mentor, Arima pushed him to fight seriously. According to Arima, he could have ended Kaneki's life a whopping 645 times. Yeah, he actually kept count on that one. When Kaneki finally managed to destroy all of Arima's weapons, Arima declared his own defeat. Instead of a pat on the back, Arima decided to end things with a more permanent goodbye, using his own weapon on himself. This heartbreaking moment shattered Sasaki, who had been fighting not to kill his mentor, but to save him, only to then watch him self-destruct. As he somehow pushes himself to the end of the world, we have Mob versus his ever-entertaining mentor, Reigen. You see, Mob's a walking nuclear reactor of psychic powers, while on the other hand, Reigen is the self-proclaimed greatest psychic in the world. Now, despite having zero psychic powers, this man has managed to convince everyone else, including Mob, that he's the real deal. After a couple of years of working together, Mob started treating Reigen like a mentor, and Reigen saw Mob as his greatest support. But things got messy when Mob unlocked his question mode. Reigen took it upon himself to bring Mob back to his senses. Rather than a fight, this was Reigen's pursuit of Mob. As Mob's leveling buildings and sending psychic shockwaves through the town, Reigen is bravely, maybe foolishly, running after him. I've got to say, Reigen had the guts to chase Mob through all that chaos, considering he has no powers. In the end, he was able to bring Mob back to his normal self after revealing the secrets he'd protected more than anything in his life. He had no psychic powers. Gotta love the fact that the only one who could stop him had no powers at all. If you're with me so far, please make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Come on, don't make Vinny Sensei sad, eh? Now, let's enter the top 10. Of course, the clash between Garo and Bang in One Punch Man stands out as one of the most epic mentor versus student battles. And this wasn't even a fight, it was a proper beatdown. You see, Garo was trained by Bang, the legendary martial artist with a reputation for both his skill and his strict code of honor. When Garo became a villain, Bang decided to take him on in order to show him who the real boss is. Now, even in his monster form, Garo didn't stand a chance against his former mentor. But hey, come on, let's give Garo some credit. This guy was in rough shape from the get-go. Bang thought that he'd ended Garo's career, but that's where he was wrong. He'd forgotten that Garo was trained by him and he'd gotten even more powerful than before. By the end of it, we could sense pain in Bang's voice as he didn't want his student to go down that path. In the world of Attack on Titan, there are many emotionally intense fight scenes, but the one that really moved our hearts was between Levi and his uncle Kenny. Now, Levi and Kenny aren't only related by blood, but they also share a mentor-student bond. Kenny found Levi a starving, weak child and decided to give him a chance at survival, teaching him the brutal skills necessary to live in their cutthroat world. Fast forward to the present, Kenny decides to confront Levi as he's throwing a wrench in his plans. And you see, Kenny didn't come alone. He came with his whole squad. Now, let's be clear, Levi isn't just a menace to Titans, he can crush anyone. Yes, anyone. And he always makes sure to push buttons the wrong way. Jokes aside though, Kenny couldn't help but be astonished at how far Levi had come with his skills. But yeah, Levi was more stressed while fighting Kenny and his squad than fighting Beast Titan. Ah yes, Orochimaru, the man who makes everything weird with his existence. Orochimaru's fight with his mentor Hiruzen is one of the most intense mentor-student fight scenes. As the third Hokage, Hiruzen has seen it all and done it all, earning the respect and admiration of an entire village. On the other hand, Orochimaru, once a promising and brilliant student of Hiruzen, turned to the dark side after being obsessed with immortality and forbidden jutsu. The battle between Hiruzen and Orochimaru is a clash of two superpowers, with each displaying the full extent of their abilities. You see, even Kakashi was scared of fighting Orochimaru. After all, only a mentor can see through his student and the kind of weakness he has, but Hiruzen wasn't scared at all. He might be old, but he's still got the moves. But even though Hiruzen couldn't defeat his unruly disciple, a small part of his heart still loved Orochimaru, and that's honestly too much for my heart. Moving on, we have Midoriya and Bakugo's epic battle with All Might during their first term final exam in My Hero Academia. Basically, for that exam, the students were heroes and the teachers were villains. Midoriya and Bakugo found themselves in a sticky situation when their opponent villain turned out to be none other than All Might. What's worse is that Midoriya and Bakugo's communication sucks. Well, you know, Bakugo isn't exactly easy to handle at all, especially for Midoriya. It's like mixing oil and water. They just don't go together. Anyway, this fight genuinely made me fear All Might. He had two major restrictions, the bindings and the limited power he could use. Despite these limitations and still holding back, he absolutely demolished Midoriya and Bakugo. Also, we've got to give Midoriya some credit here, because he was able to punch All Might hard in his face. It's not every day when we see something like that now, is it? And the fact that Bakugo tried to bite All Might's hand in order for him to let go, that was hilarious. Now let's talk about the fight that ate and left no crumbs. I'm talking about the fight between Kuzan and Monkey D. Garp in One Piece. Garp has mentored many Marines, and Kuzan happened to be one of them. It's evident that Garp's values and approach to justice likely shaped Kuzan's own ideals, pushing him towards a more compassionate and understanding form of justice. After Kuzan left the Marines and joined the Blackbeard Pirates, Garp wasn't about to let his beloved student stray without a fight. literally. As the battle between the two powerhouses starts, they're shown to be equally matched. But when Garp unleashes his glorious blue hole, Guzan sustained a lot of damage. Don't even get me started on the animation, it's just out of this world. You'd think that they're trying to set a new standard for eye candy in anime with this one. Have you ever wondered who Gohan's real dad is? It's Piccolo, which is why we're going to talk about their fight in Dragon Ball. No, I'm serious, okay? Gohan and Piccolo share a bond that transcends the typical student-mentor relationship. It's a mix of tough love, intense training sessions, and enough heartwarming moments to make you forget Piccolo once tried to blow up the Earth. Even when Gohan was all grown up, Piccolo had this urge to whip him back in shape because when the universe is on the line, no amount of preparation is going to be enough. You see, Piccolo doesn't want Gohan to settle for better when he could be the best. And honestly, Piccolo is right. While he'd been training all these years, Gohan had his nose in the textbooks. That's why it was necessary to bring him back to the battlefield, and nobody but only Piccolo could have done that. Thanks to the training, Gohan unleashed his new potential and casually split the heavens. It's going down badly when an anime character splits the guy without even breaking a sweat. But you see, Piccolo isn't done pushing Gohan to his limits, and Gohan knows that no one can bring out his true potential quite like his Namekian dad. Going forward to the most badass entry on this list, we have Unohana vs Zaraki in Bleach. Unohana and Zaraki Genpachi from Bleach share an interesting relationship. It transcends romance, friendship, rivalry, and master-student dynamics. I think both Unohana and Zaraki could be explained as one who holds the power and one who craves it. Apologies, I couldn't help myself making the Star Wars reference there, okay? Anyway, the two forces clashed against each other as Unohana wanted to help Genpachi reach his full potential and learn the name of his Zanpakuto, Nozarashi. The fight's epic because Unohana repeatedly kills and revives Genpachi, forcing him to confront his limits and release more of his power each time, despite the risk to his life. Gotta love how Unohana's aura was nice, gentle, and warm, but as soon as the 1000-year Blood War arc came, it became serial killer mode. She nurtured a demon to take her place as we see how terrifying Genpachi can be when he's serious. The outcome of this epic battle was extremely sad, and it left a great impact on Zaraki. Next up we have Assassination Classroom, where the talented and rebellious boy from Class 3E finds himself face to face with Goro Sensei, the invincible and super smart teacher. See, when it comes to deadly weapons and foul tricks, Kama got them all beat. When the battle kicks off, Kama actually manages to land a hit on Goro Sensei, marking the first time anyone's ever managed to hurt the invincible teacher. But what really cracks me up is how Goro Sensei handles Kama's dirty tricks. Instead of just countering them with his usual over-the-top combat skills, he decides to play mind games by being absurdly nice and passive-aggressive, like painting his nails and showering him with food. Through these hilariously unconventional tactics, Goro Sensei teaches Kama some valuable life lessons. He shows him that no matter how smart or skilled you are, without humility and teamwork, you're not going to get very far. Finishing up the list is Chiron vs Achilles. As much as the Fate series has epic fights, I always felt that it lacked the student-teacher dynamic in the mainline series. It's not a big loss or anything like that, but I felt that having this kind of story backdrop would be epic in something like the Fate series. Well, Apocrypha's not mainline, but it counts, and the student-teacher fight came in the form of one of the best hand-to-hand battles the whole franchise had to offer. It's not the main event, but with how good the two legendary heroes went at it, it might as well be. Their last fight was just a joy to watch, not just for the graphical prowess at work, but also due to the level of personal stakes the fight had. Some people have been calling this fight better than other standouts like the Cowboy Bebop fight, and that's really saying something. It also showcases the best part of student-teacher battles that I mentioned earlier. It showed the growth and development of both individuals, with the student finally managing to overcome his greatest challenge. It may have come in the form of a brutal fight, but I think that Chiron finds some pride in raising a student up to be such a mighty fighter. With that, we're wrapping up this list of the best mentor versus student fights. I know there must be other moments which I might not have shown on this list, so let me know in the comments which are your favourite moments and if I should do a part 2. If you enjoyed this video, you can take a look at the best brother versus brother fights in anime right here. See you next time.